I'm not going to do big bio intros. There are bios of all the speakers today. We'll bring them up and then have them sit down, and then we'll hold all questions to the end, but we'll have lots of time for questions, so make note either in your brochure or otherwise. And so first up is Martha Pitts and her daughter, Laurie Pitts Yarbrough from Power and Tel.
Hello, Martha Pitts, Power and Telephone Supply Company, but we like to call it Power and Tel. So, start 1963, I was 5, under 10. Keep my numbers straight. I was 10 years old, had a family of 5, 8 to 18, one's about to go to college, and my daddy comes home and says, let's start a business. And so they went out on a financial limb. They decided that small telephone companies needed some hand-holding. Let's start a telephone distribution company to get the right material to the right place, just when they need it. And so these are my parents, Miller and Virginia Pentecost. They were very much a team. Sometimes one was more bossier than the other. So let's fast forward. 56 years later, we are still a family company. We've multiplied. There's 50 of us, at least. And going from 7 to 50 is a big jump. My parents wanted to make it a family company, so they gifted the stock to all of us, kids included, grandchildren included. So these are all stockholders, or most of them, in this picture. So it's definitely a family company. And the telephone industry has changed. We're communication now, and yeah, that's a whole different topic. So things have changed. But the generosity and the basic philanthropy has not changed. So let's jump into kind of that topic, philanthropy. So my daddy was very generous. He believed in just giving. He never said that. He wasn't a talker, but you knew it. He had time for everybody. And I think that's one of the things that we forget that we can give. He listened to everybody. He had respect for everybody. He offered that forgiveness, those second chances. But he made sure that personal giving was a priority and family and corporate giving. So every year, the company, if they made profit, gave to charity. My brother came along. He was next in line as CEO. And he said, no, we need a plan. Jim's a planner, those type. Have to have a plan. And he said, no, we want to have it employee-driven. I got some employees here from Power and Tel. They are the best in the world, very supportive, and do just what we need them to do. He said, let's make it employee-driven. Let's get it more personable and kind of fit our culture. Well, he looked around and said, let's make a matching program. That matches dollar for dollar. You give $100, we'll give $100. So he said even match. So profits from the company went into a fund, and we worked with Community Foundation. We could not have done it without that. They are a paper-pushing machine as far as they can handle a lot of paper. And so we partnered with them, but it was a specific match. He looked around and said, okay, we could match, and we're going to let the employees do the matching, but, I know in my family and my brothers and sisters' family, we give to church first. That's part of our faith. The Lord's blessed us. We want to pass on those blessings. And so he said, let's include church giving. So it makes it very distinct. I haven't heard of many others that do this. So if I give to $100 to my church, I can match it. I can't match it back to my church, but I can match it to something else. That was revolutionary. So I got on the board of directors when I was 40. That was a whole learning curve in itself. But all of a sudden, I was given a gift because I just had the budget at the time to give my church giving. And all of a sudden, they turned around and gave me another $100 and said, where do you want to give it? And I could send it to my prison ministry where I'm working weekly. So it was a great way to fit what he had planned, to employee-driven, but as well as culture. It made it personal. And so that's kind of the things we're doing with on that part of the philanthropy. Occasionally, the employees say, "Hey, we want to do a walk for Cancer Drive or football ball for Ronald McDonald," and we'll say, "Okay, we'll match what you do as a team," and but we'll also be corporate sponsors for those things. So those are kind of corporate, but that's kind of my end, and I've been managing with my nephew. I brought my nephew on to kind of move that generation, get us intentionally having the next generation in charge of things. And so I'll introduce my daughter, very proud of my beautiful daughter, Laurie Yarbrough, and she is going to tell you a little bit more.
Good work, Mom. So yeah, my name's Laurie Yarbrough. I am one of Ned and Martha's 4, and I'm one of Virginia and Miller's 14 grandchildren. So there are lots of us, and we all grew up very much a part of small business, small family-owned business world. We went to all of the company holiday meals and stockholder meetings and functions. There was a handful of years there where we all went to trade shows and wore matching T-shirts. So those years have thankfully passed, and this generation has all grown up. We're all adults. We have our own families, and so we are kind of feeling our way through staying connected to this family business that we've been blessed with. So Mom talked about the matching fund, and from that was born this desire to give away larger gifts within the city of Memphis to nonprofits that our family members were already committed to, already involved with. So the Community Foundation, who had already kind of gotten the ball rolling with us, was an incredible platform for us to continue to do this really awesome work that we were given the gift to be able to do. So 12 years ago, my aunt, my mom's twin, was handed the task of kind of recruiting a steering committee for our fund. So my Aunt Mary recruited not just Mom's generation, but ours too. The doors were open for us to participate. And I can't imagine that many of us were just like knocking down the doors, but I remember being in a stockholders meeting and being like, yeah, I mean, I have a heart for Memphis, and I think I'd like to participate. This would be a good way to stay connected without being a power and telephone employee. So after a few years of attending those meetings and doing a lot of listening, occasionally giving my 2 cents, Mary was ready to retire and kind of push back from the business side of things and was like, don't you want to chair this committee? And I remember in my head thinking like, I don't know. But I never really verbally protested. So she shows up at my house one day with her file boxes of meeting minutes and giving records, and so I remember thinking, oh, shoot, I'm really in over my head. Who am I to be in charge of this? I also remember thinking, like, does she not have a jump drive? That was just like the shift. So that was, again, just this shift of generations, right? That initial sense of panic really kind of transitioned pretty quickly to a really grateful heart. I was thankful for that persistent shove that Mary gave to me, that encouragement and that confidence that she had in me when I didn't really have that in myself. So though I didn't initially feel up to the task, in hindsight, looking back at the bigger picture, I really had been perfectly prepared. You heard Mom talk about Granddaddy's vision that he really clearly established, this vision of generous giving. And my parents kind of fell into that same rhythm. Growing up, we had always been, again, with that firm shove, like prodded to look up from our own, important work, look up from our own lives into the lives of other people. So others that were maybe just outside of our immediate circle, outside of where we just like naturally did lives, people that were different than us. So it was by their example that the way we spent our time and our energy and money too caught on, and that habit of participating with giving and learning from others fell into our generation too. So I've been the chair of this family giving fund for 8 years now, just really being a real adult. And I have had the privilege of steering our focus to Power and Telephone's most proximate neighbors. So we have been in the Binghamton neighborhood for all these years, and it has been just the most precious gift to get to know people, men and women that drive like SOS and the Binghamton Development Corporation and others along that corridor that serve our neighbors in the most generous way. It has been awesome to sit and have coffee with them. These folks who are incredible stewards of these gifts that we just get to pass along. So yeah, today as we talk about philanthropy and just generational giving, as much as I speak to you all, I speak to myself too. I have a family and 3 young kids, and I'm hopeful that this rhythm continues, that we too, and my children included, fall into this habit of looking up from our own lives into the lives and labors of other Memphians and give. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys can stay right there. Next up is Cindy Brewer from Leo Events.
There are so many of you in the room that we exist because of you, so it's nice to see a lot of friends and clients. We're Leo Events. I'm gonna see, this is what we always do. We do this for a living, and I'm always the one that can't do it. Here we go. We are, my husband Kevin and myself and another partner, Kent Underwood. We founded Leo Events in 2012. We had an event company in Memphis called Destination King prior to that for 16 years. But we do what we create is called corporate brand experiences, and for nonprofits as well. We do corporate meetings and events all over the world. About 83% of the meetings and events that we do actually don't happen in Shelby County. Our largest clients are Walmart, Sherwin-Williams, ExxonMobil, and then we have some great clients here in Memphis, like AutoZone, National Civil Rights Museum, Le Bonheur, St. Jude, and many, many others. And that's why we exist, because of you. We have offices in Memphis, Nashville, and Chattanooga. We've grown to 50 full-time employees. And we have a cadre of about 250 part-time freelancers that work for us on events and shows all over the world. So our team is together in many different ways. But for us, culture is very important in our company, and a philanthropy of give back is something that we say is in our DNA. It helps us not only define who we are as individuals, but to also help recruit talent and to retain talent. And one of the things that we've learned significantly over the past couple of years is that if you're not doing some type of philanthropy in your organization, then you're not on the radar of some of these young folks that are looking for employment, that's very important to them. So we created an initiative within our organization called Leo Gives to set aside our philanthropic efforts and to define those. And we're very strategic about how we do things and why we do things. We did, in the last year to 18 months, create donor-advised funds for not only Leo Events, but also for Kevin and myself. It's been very important. The Community Foundation has been absolute joy to work with, and it's really kind of changed the way that we think about our philanthropy, and we think about the way that we donate and how we strategize about what makes sense, and they've been a very valuable partner of ours. So how this all got started is a man that I'm sure many of you know, Michael Yarbrough. who I did not know from a hole in the wall. But Kevin and I and many of the people within our company had the pleasure of working with Jay Yarbrough on events. He was running Alfred's and Dyer's and catering for you and all types of Automac Slims businesses that we were doing events in and out of. And he was just one of those vendors and friends and partners that would go above and beyond for us. And he made a difference in our lives. And when Jay unexpectedly and very tragically passed away at a very young age back in 2010, we picked up the phone and called his sister and said, what can we do? You know, we just can't let this go without having a way to recognize Jay and how much he meant to us. And so it started over a conversation at Houston's with the Yarbroughs and the Shankers and the Brewers to talk about developing a very small scholarship at the Kimmons-Wilson School for someone to track into the restaurant industry, because that was something that Jay did. College educated, he worked his way through the restaurant industry, growing to owning many restaurants and managing them. And so we said we could inspire someone in Memphis to do the same. And that conversation in November of 2010 has now led to a foundation that we've given away and granted over about $500,000 since then. And it's run pro bono in administrative services through Leo. Our biggest fundraiser is a golf tournament that we do every year. Michael works himself to the bone trying to get us money, and we do initiatives that kind of support the spirit of Jay and who he was, and a lot of the underfunded initiatives in our community for teens and young adults. We have the Jay Yarbrough Culinary Academy that is at Knowledge Quest, where we're actually teaching a trade to young people and hopefully teaching them how to be here and then to continue to love Memphis and want to be chefs in some of our restaurants in several years. We have several initiatives through Reach Memphis and many others that we grant. And it's just been a joy. And it's been a joy to not even know that this is where it would be. And just to say, hey, somebody meant something to us, and what can we do for that? And I think Kevin will tell you too that, and all of the people in Leo that have worked with us and with the Yarbroughs, that I think it's been life-changing for us to have another family, and that's what the Yarbroughs have been to us. So, St. Jude. So St. Jude's been very dear to our hearts. They're a very good client of ours as well. And one of the things that we talked about was we tried to do a Biggest Loser competition because we all felt like we were really overweight and traveling a lot and drinking wine. And so about 4 years ago, we said, well, why don't we all sign up for the St. Jude Marathon, and let's figure out how to, compete with each other and do something kind of fun. And so the people in Nashville and the people in Chattanooga were like, oh, that sounds fun, but why am I going to come to Memphis to do that? And, we said, oh, it's really inspirational and you guys will like it. And so finally we talked to our employees, and everybody said, look, if you don't make me do the half, I'll do it. Like if I can do the 5K or I can walk or something, I'll do it. And so we developed an initiative where we could sign up through the corporate challenge and do a corporate challenge team, which is really neat because you sign up to fundraise basically for what at the time was like a $500 commitment, but you can raise as much as you want to, and then each person can join into your team, and so you can then you get a little report and it'll tell you how much your team has raised among others and things like that. So what we decided to do was kind of take it a step further because we wanted everybody, we have this motto about go big or go home, so we're like, if we're going to do it, we're going big. And so we said, all right, if our employees will commit to this, then they pay the $50 to register for the race, and they commit at that point to raising, at that time is now $450 because it was $500 and then $50. We'll throw in the first 100. So Leo threw in the first 100, so now all their risk is $350. And after year one, we didn't have anybody complain whatsoever about it. They thought it was the most inspirational thing that they've done. This past year, we were up to 45 runners, and on the little roster, it'd say breakaway running, $200,000, AutoZone, something that would be like Leo events, at $50,000. We're like, look at us. So we now pay for the hotel room for any of our out-of-towners to come in to run the race. We do a carbon cocktails party ourselves. We have an after event. So we make a whole weekend of it. Everybody gets these great shirts. And everybody says, I don't even care, just going through the hospital and running through that campus and being able to feel like that event means something to them in so many ways. So it's meant something to Kevin and I as well. This year, our son actually became a patient of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, so it's had a lot of meaning. Okay, our other partner, Kent Underwood, is in Chattanooga. And he, and just like we kind of partnered with the Yarbroughs, he partnered with a next door neighbor who's a sculptor. He makes sculpturist, whatever that word is. George Bush, I'm making something up. So he, our property in Chattanooga backs up to this urban area that he wanted to put these metal sculptures in the park. And so Kent and the gentleman, John Henry, came together and said, we'll develop the sculpture fields of Montague Park, and then he'll develop his sculptures, and it'll help create land that was vacant that backed up to the interstate and how it could celebrate arts in Chattanooga. This is now a walking urban park. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. And we participate as much as we do with the J. Yarbrough Foundation in Chattanooga. Our team does there with the Sculpture Garden. We do pro bono work for organizations that have currently worked with us in the past. We don't do full pro bono work, as many vendors would tell you that that's very difficult to do. But what we do, and we always say, okay, and Civil Rights Museum is certainly one of our longest standing clients with this. When we apply a certain amount of hours, because we're a service industry, so we're event management, right? And so we have a lot of nonprofit clients. So we always come in with, what we consider a discounted rate, but we don't like calling it that because it demeans a little bit about the value of the services that we provide. So what we'll do is create a retail invoice at the end of the event. And so we will show how many hours were, it'll show just like a retail invoice, and then we'll show a credit for the amount of hours that we applied toward that event. And the reason that we think that's important is so that obviously there's a trade and a value of what we do, and if anybody ever switches hands in an organization, that they're able to know that that was work that was provided. But it also helps us on the other end because we can say, in addition to what we were able to do, we can apply those amount of hours pro bono to a value at the end of the year, as well as what our cash and retail donations are. So it's a nice way to do it. Our holiday cards. So we were spending a ridiculous amount of money every year on these holiday gifts for our clients and always trying to come up with something new and different and fresh and something we could mail all over the world. And 2 years ago, we started getting letters from some of our bigger clients that said, don't send us gifts, we can't accept them anymore. And so we were like, well, now what do we do? So 2 years ago, we had a lot of tragedies affect a lot of cities that are destinations that are very meeting needy. Las Vegas got hit with the shooting, and Puerto Rico got hit, and Napa got hit. Houston, which was we do, like I said, a lot for ExxonMobil. So we said, well, why don't we try to turn our philanthropic efforts into a really neat, unique initiative for the holidays. And we developed a holiday card that year one was actually a series of postcards. And inside the postcards, we made a donation to 4 of the organizations. We did United Way of Houston, we did the Napa Community Foundation, the Las Vegas Initiative, and missing one, in Puerto Rico. They had a Boys and Girls Club of Puerto Rico that was helping rebuild. And we said, okay, these meetings, this could happen in Memphis. I mean, this could happen to us. And, we would need support because once something tragic like that happens, the hotels lose all the revenue, the tourism, the attractions, everybody. So we said, we'll put that spin on it so that everybody can understand that there's a way to give and to spend the same amount of money that you would, but to also have it resonate with who your clients are. And it resonated because our clients are all affected by it. We never received comments like we received in year one. People are like, this is the best thing you've ever done. You know, instead of spending money, I can see where you're doing something to help all of us. So we said, okay, now we got to do it the next year. We got to do it bigger and better than we did that year. So Hemline Marketing is one of our partners that helped us with this. And so we created this year recipe cards. And we went in and identified specific philanthropies, again, that would resonate with clients and would resonate worldwide. Feeding America for still working in Puerto Rico. And we found this cute, great little grassroots organization, which just has been adorable to watch, called Hope Panhandle, that was just started very rogue, like we did with Yarbrough, and they've been trying to rebuild that organization, and so that city. So we did recipe cards. So there was an information about who the organization was on the front, and then you flip over in the back, and it was a recipe that was unique to that destination or something that tied into that, and then they would keep it, and then a cover sheet of what we did. So I don't know what we're going to do next year, but we're going to have to figure out something that ties into it. But our challenge was we didn't want people just to open up a holiday card and put it in the trash, because that's what they do. So we wanted them to physically have to work through something to see that that donation meant something to us and that the clients meant something to us, and how we were able to speak on both ends. We also have done this several times, and I encourage any of y'all to do this. It's a fantastic little exercise to do. If you're looking for an event in a hotel ballroom or in your conference room and you want to do it for nothing, cheap, zero, this is an excellent community give back little event. So what we do is we pick 6 nonprofits, let's say, and you have 6 tables of 10. So you have 60 people in the room, 6 tables of 10. You put 9 of your employees or your staff or whoever your audience is at 9 of the seats, and then you put the nonprofit in the 10th seat. You tell the nonprofit to come up with a challenge that they have, something that they have, a problem, a stale event, a board member who's cranky, people that they can't, move past, or, something that's affecting them. And then you allow those 9 individuals to work with that philanthropy for an hour to help solve that problem. At the end, you stand up and they kind of talk through the ideas, and then the group will hear from different philanthropies what problems they solve for each other. We've done this several times, and one of the biggest takeaways is it is, first of all, it's a fresh perspective of someone completely out of the box. It's 9 people that didn't know that organization really from a hole in the wall. And it allows them to get 9 hours of free consulting work that they would have had to pay retail rate for to go somewhere else. But we did that, and we do it at our annual meeting every year, and it's always a fun exercise. We did create a Leo Gives Award for our employees because we wanted everybody to feel that spirit and everything is important. And our employees actually are the ones that ask us to create an award for celebrating philanthropy. So 2 years ago, we created this. We presented at our company meeting, and it goes to someone who's gone above and beyond, actively volunteering in their community and making a difference of their time personally and professionally. It doesn't have to be about giving money. It can be that you're, making a difference. So each year we award $500 to that particular individual. They get a little trophy, and then $1,000. They get $1,000, and then we make a $500 donation to a charity that they get to pick. It's very special, very competitive. When the nominations come in every year, we're just amazed to see what our employees do. And I'm not supposed to ask questions, so just ignore that. But that's Leo. That's what we do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll do questions after. But last but not least, I'm going to bring up J.W. Gibson with the Gibson Companies.
Thank you all for being here. I tell you, I'm really excited to be here with you. And you should all give yourself a round of applause. I really didn't expect such a crowd. So thank you for coming out. I'm very impressed. For those of you who know me, I typically don't do these type of speaking engagement. One wise man told me, stay under the radar. Right, Michael Yarbrough? But I am so excited to be here today. When Community Foundation made the ask of me, I couldn't say no. One, because I serve on their board, and then Sutton would always nudge me in the back of my head if I didn't agree to do it. And I'm excited about the work that Community Foundation is doing. In the upcoming year, with the 5th year celebration coming about, things that you're going to be hearing about Community Foundation, it's going to be very exciting. So I couldn't say no, because I'm excited to be a part of what they're doing in the community. So thank you, Community Foundation, for being a sponsor. And Daily News, thank you guys. Excited about the things you guys are doing. Look forward to the digital newspaper. It's been out, what, a month? 4 months.
It's like 4 years.
Congratulations and thank you. So J.W. Gibson is my name. Born and raised here in Memphis, Tennessee. I like to be described as homegrown. I spent the entire life of schooling in public schools. At 18, we left to serve in the military for 1 term, the U.S. Navy. One of the things I have always recognized about myself early is that there was 2 things that was important to me, and that was serving, believe it or not, as a little guy. We had the nickname of Teeny Man because I was so little, but I was always caring for all the family members. So this serving thing has always been in me, has always been a part of me. And the entrepreneurial seed that exists is sometimes, it freaks me out, but it's always been there. We came back from the U.S. Navy after serving 1 term, and we went to work for Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. My first year there at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, it was an interesting one. I learned quick, fast, in a hurry that I didn't really enjoy myself at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. Fortunate enough, there was a program that Memphis Light, Gas, and Water had that was focused on getting managers, young, new, incoming managers trained on communication skills and whatnot. So there was an application process that would allow that young trainee to apply for a term with United Way, to work through one of United Way's campaigns. It was called, the position was called loan executive. So we gave it a shot. We did that 1 year, and it was supposedly only a 1-year opportunity. So we did that the first year at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. Some kind of way, chairmen of the incoming campaigns decided they wanted to have someone they consider the best loan executives. And J.W. Gibson was chosen as one of those individuals. We went back for a 2nd year. The 3rd year, the president of Memphis Light, Gas, and Water became the chair of the capital campaign, Laurie. And he said, I too want the same thing. So I ended up going back 3 years. My first 3 years on Memphis Light, Gas, and Water's payroll, I was at United Way. The interesting thing about that, it gave me an opportunity to really learn Memphis and Shelby County. You know, I, at that point, before leaving for the military, was a South Memphis boy. All I knew was South Memphis. So I didn't know downtown. I didn't know Shelby County. I didn't know any of that stuff. So coming back and being able to get involved with United Way really opened my eyes. It started the juices to flow. So that entrepreneurial seed that has always been in me got fed through the work that I was doing with United Way. The 4th year on Memphis Light, Gas, and Water's payroll, we went back to Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. I could not take it, y'all. I shortly thereafter resigned. And Gibson Company was born April 14th, 1991. All right? That sounded cute when I thought about it in my head, but when I think about it from a realistic perspective, I gave up everything. And I moved back home, to my mom's home. When I'm talking about moving home, we went home. Mom opened her arms up to me, and we went home. We started the Premier Group. It was our belief that if you look at the #1 revenue-producing industry in Shelby County, it's healthcare. When you dug a little bit deeper, we realized that there was not, at the time, a locally owned distributor of medical supplies. There were guys who were nationally recognized that had facilities here, the Owens and Miners, the McKessons, and so on and so forth. And then when I said to myself, hey, I just came out of the military. There's a big VA hospital over there. That was the impetus in which we started the Premier Group. That's exactly what we did. Went home, moved back with my mom, set up office in my bedroom, and called on the VA hospital. And we've been doing that now for 28 years. We've expanded the Premier Group to go beyond just medical supplies to providing office and janitorial supplies. Not only do we serve Memphis and Shelby County, but we serve nationally with our strategic partners. After we got that up and rolling and feeling pretty good about ourselves, around 10 years into it, my pastor, Reverend James L. Nethers, said to me, I want elderly housing for my constituents. Make it happen, Brother Gibson. We made it happen. He had no experience whatsoever in developing property. Reverend Nethers told me to do it, so we did. Today, that non-for-profit that we created to support Reverend Nethers' dreams is called Southeast Regional Development Corporation. It's a non-for-profit that focuses on multifamily housing. And here in the last 5 to 10 years, we had a focus on our historical property. So we got involved with the development group for the Chiska. We got involved with the ownership group over at James Lee House. And if you're not familiar with those properties, you need to know them. They are truly jewels for the city of Memphis. Chiska is an old historical hotel right in the heart of downtown. James Lee House, it's an 1847 Victoria structured facility in Victoria Village. 5 luxury bed and breakfast units. You have got to check it out, it's nice. The third business under Gibson Companies is called Tech Print. It was an entity that was created on the gut feeling that Michael Yarbrough told me I needed to respect. We felt that lottery was going to come to the state of Tennessee. So we went about our business of going to various conferences throughout the country, learning the lottery industry, meeting the people who made the decision, learning the technology, learning the terminology. Lo and behold, if Steve Cohen didn't make that bill pass the very next year. After 18 years, the very next year, Steve Cohen passed that legislation. And I knew there was going to be an opportunity. So we jumped at it. We wanted to ensure that the printing was done here in the state of Tennessee. There was approximately 20 people across the state that bid on that contract for the lottery printing. They talked about the generational perspective of their print shop. Granddad brought it in, did this, did that. It's been a part of the family, which was all good stuff. But nobody talked about the printing of lottery tickets perspective. And that's what they were needing to have happen. They were needing to have some print vendor that understood print product. We responded to that need. We responded that we understood. We asked for 120 days to get our facility up and running. That's when we made the bid. We had nothing. We had an idea. We had an idea about where we could go and get what we needed. They gave us that 120 days. Within 115 days, we had the facility up and rolling. We had the press locked down and operating. They came in and they did an inspection on the site. And we've been printing the lottery tickets for the state of Tennessee ever since, and that was 2004. The fourth and last one is about to kill me. It's the New Daisy on Beale Street. So again, we're taking on a challenge that we know nothing about. I just love music. I think I could dance every once in a while. Know nothing about music, but I love it. And for me, it has always been a situation of how do we get people talking about Memphis music today? You all travel, you go around the world traveling. People here, you're from Memphis, they're going to talk about Memphis music. But typically it's from a historical perspective. And today, Memphis has some of the rawest talent, some of the best artists that the country has ever known. Professionals in the music industry here in Memphis. But there wasn't much of an opportunity for those artists in particular to showcase their talent, be shown a line of respect for what they do. I tried the Music Foundation as a vehicle of giving back to that industry and trying to support that industry. And it didn't work, so that went by its way. Opportunity for the New Daisy came into play. We jumped at it because it was an opportunity again to give local artists an opportunity to showcase their talent. We actually did, separate and apart from the New Daisy, we did a video, documentary on local artists, and we went across the genre. We did country music, rock, R&B, rap, you name it. We covered it, and we presented it. I think it was 2016 Indie Film Festival. Did well. It did well. What it was about, again, with this effort about bringing people up to par with what's today, we showcased or we documented 8 artists, their background, what they do, their music, how they got into the music, and we asked the question, why Memphis? Why are you still here in Memphis? And it was phenomenal. So I share all that with you to share, when it comes to the New Daisy, we wanted to make that effect on the community. We wanted to be a part of that giving back to the community. We wanted to be one of the leaders in showcasing that. When you look at the other 3 businesses that fall up under Gibson companies, the things that excite me the most, beyond the ability that I learned to give through United Way, is the fact that we started something new in each one of those companies, didn't have any experience in those given industries, but we left a bang in each and every one of those industries. For example, in the wholesale distribution, when I got in the game, the big boys all controlled what they call the group purchasing organizations, contracts. So the small guy had no ability to assess contracts. You came in from day one with your pricing up here, and the big guys had pricing structures up here. Make a long story short, we were able to, in 1989, create the first sharing agreement for local small-owned businesses to garnish GPO contracting. Changed the game overnight. We then became competitive. We then became the entity that could utilize our true resources by being local and small and being able to turn on a dime. The real estate development company, we pioneered the utilization of historical and low-income tax credits. Low-income tax credits was the first one we did. At the time, no bank in the state of Tennessee would touch low-income tax credits. By the time we came around to do our second, we went to Cincinnati, actually, to get the first deal done. But second deal, I said to a friend of mine, Rick Neal, over at First Tennessee, y'all got to look at this guy. And they did. And they actually created, Bob, you remember this, they actually created a division that dealt with low-income tax credits throughout the Southeast region, made mints. The printing company, we set forth an example of what can be done in 115 days when you put your mind to it, and you got the belief in yourself and in God. So we're proud of being able to serve the community that we live in, that we work in, that we call home. Again, the charitable piece comes from my affiliation with United Way. As Gibson companies grew, my wife started her own business, so between the two of us, we've created a foundation called Kathy and J.W. Gibson's Foundation. We give to over 100 non-for-profits on an annual basis. We're proud to be able to do so. We're proud that we're able to not only give financially, but we're able to engaged ourselves in those particular pet projects like the K-12 that my wife gets excited about. And those of you who know Kathy, you know her passion for early education. It gives me an opportunity to get involved with transitional opportunities, I'll just put it, over at Lemoyne College. It gives us those opportunities, and we're excited to be a part of Memphis and Shelby County. We're excited to play our rightful role. We are excited to call Memphis home. And again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart as I look out and see so many of you that care. You showed up. You wanted to hear. That's because you feel it too. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all. So I'm going to have everybody come up and take your seats here. One of the things that I was struck by as you all were talking, and I learned this when I was on the board of I'm still on the board of the Overland Park Conservancy and have been for a while, and I'm the immediate past president. I saw those sculptures in the grass up there. I was like, man, that'd be a great place to park some cars. But
Oh, man. Too soon.
Too soon? Too soon? It came out today where construction breaks ground in the summer. It's all done. It's all set. No, what I was thinking besides that was that I learned, and in that, when we raise money for that, and we raise money for other things that Overland Park did, that $100 matters, that $50 matter. And that's an interesting concept, that it, when a big foundation gives money, we, the Daily Memphian, other publications, we write about that, X million dollars to go towards this great, awesome project. And there's a lot of those things in Memphis because it's such a generous city and there are these great foundations. But with the Overland Park thing, I learned the value of the $100 and learned the value of the volume of contributions mattering to an organization. And we were under fire right then. And that so many people gave $50 and $25 and $100 mattered a lot. Yeah, did we want $20,000 from everybody? Of course, but that was different. And that was a real learning curve. And so I'm curious about when you talk with employees or, and organizations, that value that it isn't just, the bottom line, yeah, it's the amount of money, but there's more to it than that. So thoughts on that? In terms of your employees who maybe only give a little bit.
Yeah, if they match, a lot of times it was $10 here and $20 here, but if they could gather up to make $100, but the times they would come back and give me the hug and say, you wouldn't believe how much they thanked me, just for the little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, again, other questions. I have a list, but if people have things. For Bob, in the practicalities, so, when companies so people out here, companies who want to set up a program, but it just seems kind of daunting. Someone joked about you all being the paper pushers and so on. Is it daunting? And I'm not asking I'm not setting you up to sell yourself and sell Community Foundation, all you can, but also just internally, it sounds daunting, I think, to people, both whatever paperwork's got to be done and just organizing it and so on and so forth.
Well, it can be daunting. I think that for folks that are running businesses all day, every day, that want to give back, the notion of, and now we're going to do some other thing over here, yeah, that's daunting. But that's what we do. We do try to make things easier for individuals and families and corporations. I'll also say that, we don't think that there's anything like a template where one size fits all. We kind of start with what everybody wants to do, and we figure out how to get that done. And yeah, sometimes there's that's not a good idea. But yeah, we try to help them do whatever it is they're trying to get done.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious if, and maybe this is Martha or maybe it's for Cindy, if you've ever done programs that failed, that didn't work right, or is it always? Cindy nodded her head. You don't have to name names. No, but I think you learn. If you do these kinds of things, you learn from, you learn from your mistakes if you're doing it right.
Yes, we have failed. We had J. Yarbrough Foundation as our initiative for the Memphis team. And then we had Sculpture Field in Chattanooga. And so we empowered our Nashville group to come up with something in Nashville. And they had all the employees pitch different nonprofits. And they all unanimously selected what was called the W.O. Smith School of Music, and it's an aftercare music program in Nashville. And it seemed like a good fit for us because, we had hospitality, tourism, restaurant management here, we had arts here, and then we had music, which is a huge part of our business. And so it just kind of all seemed to make sense. The agreement with the organization, and we donate the same amount of money to all three of these, the agreement that that particular school set up, and we forced this was not them, that it was going to be cash plus employee-driven time into pro bono work for that organization. And we all travel a lot in our business, and so the first year, it's like we just could not get the team to get together to really figure out how to put a priority onto that. And I think the school also wasn't, it seemed like it was mutual on that side, that they also didn't really know how to use our group. And so for us, it's like you get to the end and you're like, well, are we going to do that again? They're like, well, it didn't work. And it's like, all right, well, it didn't work because of, a lot of things. But you've got to get the employees, if they're passionate about it and it's what they want to do and they choose and they select it, then, take it and run. But it is sad to see it sometimes go the opposite way.
Yeah. I'm just going to put Martha or Laurie on the spot. I mean, you must have employees you don't want to give. I mean, is there just sort of a public shaming in the break room? I mean, is there people?
We do not shame our employees, but I have personally shamed my grandchildren.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was
I
thinking.
see this. Yeah.
Here's some shaming.
You want to go farther with that? Anything you want to get out?
No, it's appropriate shame, though. That's a thing.
Again, more seminars coming through the year. Thank you to our panel, and thank you all for being here.